Welcome to Children's Chapel. My name is Amanda Esco, and I am lucky enough to be the director of the religious education for the First Unitarian Church of Salt Lake City. Thank you for joining us for Children's Chapel today. We're really glad you're here. Let's start Children's Chapel by lighting our chalice. Symbol of light, symbol of knowledge, symbol of warmth, symbol of freedom. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. Here we gather to celebrate hope and the infinite possibilities of love. So, this week in religious education, we have been talking about caring, what it means to care for ourselves, for our earth, and for each other. This week in Children's Chapel, we're going to do our joys and concerns. Lissa is going to do our UU of the week, and then I'm going to tell you a story that involves a journey. So get ready for that. Let's start Children's Chapel today, though, with joys and concerns. What's going well for you? What are you struggling with? I want you to talk to whoever you're with. That's mom or dad or a sibling or your dog or your cat. I know a friend who has some rats. Talk to whoever you like. I will start with joys and concerns though. This week, we have been celebrating my husband, Peter, for Father's Day. So we've had a lot of joy in celebrating him as a member of our family and all the good he does for us. So that has been a real big joy for our family, is celebrating Peter. A concern that I have had is I am concerned about the stop sign in front of our house. People are ignoring the stop sign by our house and they're just driving through the street. I've contacted the city, which is my first step, but I'm concerned for safety. I don't want anyone to get hurt. Have you ever had a concern that you felt like was too big for you to solve and that you had to talk to people in your community about? Let's keep thinking about these ways and I'll keep you on the loop about my stop sign. Well, what's going on with you? Share it with those that love you and that are with you right now. I'll be right here waiting for you. Thanks for sharing your joys and concerns. It's important that we share. It's important that we talk about our feelings. It's important that we stay present in our bodies. Thanks for sharing. Now, Lissa is going to share with us our UU of the week. This UU of the week had a lot to say about being a parent. Thank you, Lissa.
I'm Lissa Lander, the Religious Education Assistant for the First Unitarian Church of Salt Lake City. I'm going to tell you about our UU of the Week from Bear Lake. Dr. Berry Brazelton was born in 1918 and died in 2018, just 1 week shy of his 100th birthday. I can't imagine how much he saw change over his lifetime. He was a beloved pediatrician, or doctor for children, who changed the way we understood infants and young children. He used science to prove that babies are each unique with an inherent personality, instead of what people who study brains and development call a blank slate. This means that you are the person you are from the very beginning. Some babies are cranky, and some are easygoing, and Dr. Brazelton told parents to meet their baby where they are, instead of feeling like they did something wrong when the baby cried. I bet this made it feel a little easier to be a parent, which is a really hard job. He also taught parents that babies have the ability to use language to control their environment, not only with crying and other sounds, but also with body language. Brazelton saw that babies are capable and important, and that sounds a lot like the first principle to me, because, surprise! Berry Brazelton was a Unitarian Universalist. And I think he is an amazing example of providing care and using empathy to better understand something really important: children. Before Dr. Brazelton started to write about infants, the medical community believed that babies could not feel pain. Advice to parents was to leave the baby alone much of the time, but especially when they were sick and needed to be in the hospital. Parents were only allowed to visit a sick baby for a very short time, but Brazelton helped change these policies by using science to prove how important the relationship between parents and babies is. He wrote many books about children, had a regular column in Parenting magazine, and had a TV show called What Babies Know. He taught parents about developmental milestones, which means that babies learn to do certain things in a certain order. But he also reassured parents that every child is different, and that's okay. Dr. Brazelton helped Senator Patricia Schroeder write the first Family Medical Leave Act. He recommended that every woman be given at least 6 months at home with a new baby, with paid leave from her job. The original bill even included time off for fathers, but the Congress would not approve it at the time and even reduced the amount of time that he recommended for mothers to stay home. But Dr. Brazelton continued to testify before Congress and tried to help families spend more time together when there was a medical need. In his book, Touchpoints, Birth to Three, Brazelton spoke about how important being a part of a community is for children. He said, "As my own children grew older, I began to realize, as do many parents who eventually join the PTO or coach after-school sports, that to protect their futures, I would need to turn my attention to whatever small part I could do for other people's children too. In these uncertain times, we can give our children hope by modeling, with our own small acts of generosity, the ways that they too can do what they can to help. Such gestures reassure them that they belong to a community that cares. We can also approach their development as a series of opportunities to instill in them the self-control, self-respect, and sensitivity to others that they will need in order to be resilient and to make their own contribution one day to bettering our strained world." I would like to say that I, Lissa, am grateful for our community, and happy Father's Day to all the different people who have helped my children feel welcome and grow up in community at First Church.
Welcome back. This week in religious education, we've been talking about how we care for ourselves, for each other, and for our earth. Let's see what's in our Wonder Box today. I found a shoe, a donkey who's looking a little haggard. Where's his ear? And a Jesus puppet. Let's see how these were related to our story today. Today, I'm going to tell you a very famous story from one of our sources, the Christian Bible. In the Christian Bible, this is actually a story called a parable told by Jesus in the Gospel of Luke. Jesus told parables for the same reason we tell stories today, to share a story to teach people how he thought they should behave. Once upon a time, one day, a merchant was traveling on a road when he was attacked by bandits. The bandits were so cruel that they beat the merchant, stole everything he had, and left him for dead on the side of the road. The merchant was so badly hurt, he couldn't move or speak at all. and he could barely see through his swollen black eyes. A long time passed. Then down the road came a priest who was a man of God. The priest looked very fine. He was wearing a fancy new robe, and his hair was nice, and he was clean from a bath. When the merchant saw the priest coming down the road, he became excited because surely the priest, a man of God, will help me. But no, when the priest saw him lying on the side of the road, he just kept on walking, passed right by him. After a time, the merchant saw another man coming down the road. This man was a man that worked at the local church, was a temple helper, and he looked fine as well. He was well groomed and had on nice new clothes and a haircut. He wore beautiful robes and had a winning smile. Once again, the merchant became hopeful. Surely this man will help me, he thought. But when the temple helper saw the merchant lying on the side of the road, he just kept on walking by and didn't stop at all. A very long time passed, and the merchant began to lose hope. I will die here on the side of the road, he thought. But then he saw another man walking down the road with a donkey. This man did not look good. He was dirty and his clothes had holes in them. He did not look like he had shaved or cut his hair in a really long time. This man will not help me, thought the merchant. He is from Samaria, and Samaritans hate my people. But when the man saw the merchant lying on the side of the road, he stopped. He was moved with compassion. The Samaritan washed and bandaged the merchant's wounds. He put him on top of his donkey and took him to safety into an inn and took care of him. The next day, as the Samaritan prepared to leave, he gave the innkeeper money and said, "Please take care of this man. When I return, I will pay you any more money that you need because you took care of him." From his window at the inn, the merchant could see the Samaritan walking off into the distance. He was too weak to call out or even speak his thanks. But ever since that time, the merchant has known deep in his heart that there is a big difference between looking good and being good. When I hear this story, it makes me think of the second principle. Who remembers which one that is? One, each person is important. Two, be kind in all you do. Yes. In the language that the adults use, we would say justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Reverend Emily Gage says, it points us to the larger community. It gets at collective responsibility. It reminds us that treating people as human beings is not simply something we do one-on-one, but something we do that has systemic implications. And it can inform our cultural way of being. The Good Samaritan did not disregard the merchant because he wasn't a Samaritan, even though their communities were fighting. He took care of him and made sure he was safe. He did what was right, even in the face of cultural conflict. He did good because he should do good. Now, as you go through your week, I want you to look for the good that you can do in this world. What can you to help people in your community? How can you further justice, equity, and compassion in human relations? I can't wait to hear what you do. Until next time, let's heart out.